My dad was posted in a place called Gorakhpur. This is in eastern UP. There used to be on an average about 2-3 murders a day. So I have seen my dad sleeping with his revolver below the pillow. We used to go to school with bodyguards and gunmen, and he had 2-3 live attempts on him. Typically, those days people took supari on him.
How was the IIT experience?
So I will say IITs is first of all completely overhyped. I remember meeting the minister. First question he asked me कि आपका जात क्या है?
Why did you decide co-working spaces in a place like India?
So the best part about Bangalore, I will say, is that what you know is more important than whom you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
How has this business fundamentally shifted with, say, work from home, or where a lot of companies also do hybrid kind of working model?
Our generation, people went where work was.
Correct.
All of us went 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles for work. Today, what is happening? Work is going where people are. Cities like Coimbatore or cities like Indore, to some extent Jaipur, Ahmedabad, I think they will do better than others because of.
What are the different workplace experiences that Indians are looking for? Like, is there any pattern that you've noticed in tier 2 cities versus tier 1 cities?
After COVID, this is a function which is right now the CEO or the India head is focusing on.
Really?
Employees don't want to come to office, right? And employers want them to come to office.
I don't think that's necessarily true. The India growth story, which particular categories will really emerge for India?
I have not come across the dilemma that the work life needs to be balanced.
So how many hours do you work a day? Yeah. What is your number one hack on how to scale? Welcome to Humans of Bombay, Rishi.
Yeah, thank you, Karishma. Thanks.
And we're having a very interesting conversation offline. So we'll just continue it in the podcast itself.
Sure.
All things real estate, co-working, cities, what is the future like? But you've had extreme success when it comes to building 3 businesses over 25 years, crores of rupees, hundreds of crores of rupees in revenue. So what do you think is the secret sauce? What has made you you?
I will say one is belief in myself, the idea, the team, perseverance, and the discipline.
Yeah.
I think these 3, I will say, have been responsible for where we have reached so far.
Yeah. And it's a great place to be, growing very rapidly. So big congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
But we were just chatting offline that you actually don't come from Bangalore, which is where you're based now. You come from Lucknow, which is in UP. So talk to me a little bit about your childhood. What were your dreams? What were your ambitions?
So, as a child, I was born in a middle-class family. My father was a upright, honest officer, unlike today what you see in UP State City Board. So, our childhood was very clean, I will say very joyous kind of childhood we had. Same good old simple living, high thinking kind of philosophy built it out. And we were given a lot of independence, whatever we wanted to do. A lot of focus was on education over there. And my dad, being a upright officer, has his own share of challenges. So we had a very, I will say, a courageous, fearless childhood. A lot of incidents happened which shaped us into being very fearless. A lot of problem-solving skills we picked up on the way. And a lot of, I will say, small successes in education or sports that built the ambition, that gave us the confidence that we can do better. And hope was a very important thing that tomorrow will be better than what today is. So those are some of the, I will say, the early childhood formative stages that were very, very useful.
So what are these incidents that you're talking about? Can you tell me?
So, yeah, like my dad was posted in a place called Gorakhpur. This is in eastern UP. And those was the days when there used to be on an average about 2-3 murders a day in that kind of a place. So I have seen my dad sleeping with his revolver below the pillow, loaded revolver, when we were 4-5-year-old. We used to go to school with bodyguards and gunmen, and he had 2-3 live attempts on him. Typically, those days people took supari on him. So I have seen that. So that gave us a lot of courage. And he never succumbed to those pressures. So those were, I will say, the incidents that happened, which shaped up a very courageous problem-solving approach. My dad or my mother never did any spoon feeding. In our school or any problems that we had, they always let us figure out how to solve them for ourselves. So those are the good things. The other things were there were certain guardrails for us in the family that be among the bright students, but be an all-rounder. So a lot of focus on sports was there.
Very refreshing to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah. And even though we came from middle-class family, it was not stereotype. My dad and mother gave us the freedom that whatever you want to pursue, do that within certain degrees. There were certain guardrails that if you don't violate them, they were like, for example, I was offered the head boy position in the school, but my father was not very keen on that because we were in the grade 11th and 12th. He said that that's the time to focus on your studies and why you want to take this as a deviation and where it will lead to for you. But he was always happy to me to pick up leadership positions, whatever small or big came our way in the school.
And if you thought about the future, would you say that you wanted to get a stable job, make a certain amount every month and lead a secure life? Or were you always ambitious and thought that I'll do something of my own?
So I will say I was always the ambitious types, and my dad could see that. One option, as you can see in UP or Bihar of that time, used to be there that you get into bureaucracy. So that was one career option that was always there. But at the same time, I was always fascinated by business. So my dad was always careful that it should not be too much of a distraction for me. So I think ambition was always there. It was never about the same thing. And dad himself was a very high achiever, passing out from IIT BHU. So that was there in us, that something extraordinary we have to do and push the boundaries.
Yeah. So how was the IIT Roorkee experience for you? How was the IIT experience? Was it everything that you read about, or is it quite different?
So I will say IITs is first of all completely overhyped, right? And in all humility, I am saying this. So when I will say that when I went to IIT Roorkee, so I was a bright student in my school. So we were getting the NTSC scholarship, National Talent Search Examination, that used to select only 750 students across India. And it was a prelims, mains, pretty much like the way IAS exams happen, UPSC exams happen. That was a process. So I was very proud about that fact. And when I went to the scholarship section, then I suddenly realized in a batch of 60 people in electrical engineering, which I was doing, there were 26 of us who were getting NTSC scholarships. So that was a big humbling experience. Yeah. Suddenly I realized that we are possibly in a pond or a small lake. Now I have come into a much bigger river over there. So that was a very humbling experience over there. And I think in a lot of ways it set a very high benchmark. Yeah. That basically you get humbled when you see all of that. And I will say I had a very, very satisfying and stint at Roorkee. It was not IIT at that time, it was University of Roorkee. Then basically in 2002 it became IIT at that time. So few things which I recollect what happened with me over there in the second year of engineering. I picked up and helped my uncle set up a floriculture business. So that was a business plan we prepared. We went to do a lot of research, visited multiple farms, all of that we did. Then there was no term as entrepreneurship. First time I had to use a dictionary to find out what does entrepreneur as a word mean. Wow. Typically, right? Entrepreneurship was not fashionable as it is today or socially acceptable. Correct. It was very different times. Then in third year, first time I convinced one of my professors to float an elective on entrepreneurship, and I topped that elective, put up a business plan typically, which was accepted by the campus as well, and they were happy to even support us to pursue that. Then I started the Science Technology Entrepreneurship Park student chapter at Roorkee. Other thing that we did was created a non-profit, because what was happening at that time, IT had started growing. And a lot of companies were coming who were looking for people who could do coding in, say, C or C++ kind of programming languages. And our curriculum was still focused largely on Fortran or COBOL kind of programming skills. So there was a clear gap between what the industry was expecting and what we were doing. So we created a non-profit program. I led that initiative. And as part of that, we were offering a full semester certification courses to a lot of not just undergrad, even postgrad and research students who were there. and that really bridged a big gap over there. So that was another thing I did. And as I said that when we went there, it was a humbling experience. But by the time I passed out from IIT Roorkee, I had built that kind of influence and goodwill that even the vice chancellor or the dean organization will call me, pick up the feedback from students. So I think ended that stint at a high. And if I look in the hindsight, I think the early foundation of my entrepreneurial journey in a lot of ways got set at IIT Roorkee, and I was never keenly interested in engineering, even though as a bright student, you end up doing either medicine or engineering at that time. But if you look at I was subscribing to Economic Times pretty much from 91 when I was in grade 10th, because that's the time India got liberalized and there was a lot of hype around the stock market boom and all of that. And 4 years I studied read Business World, Business Today, Harvard Business Review used to come in our library. So very regularly subscribed to that. So in a lot of ways, my callings, I think when I went to Roorkee became very clear that entrepreneurship, even though I did not knew this word very properly, but somewhere that confidence was there. And then as a good student on the campus, you get selected for campus recruitment and you don't have much choice. So whatever companies come in a particular order, beyond a point you can't resist that. So I landed up with a job. The day one when I went, I realized or got the same feeling when I joined kindergarten. That my goodness, I don't belong here. I will say the first 1 hour reaction was that this is too slow, too much of patience, and I'm too impatient to go through this ladder and build a career. Always business fascinated me. So thought that why don't I write CAT in December of 97 and then get into a business education and eventually get into business career. So wrote CAT in December, could not get through, abruptly left the job, did not inform my parents, came back to Lucknow. Initially Dad thought that you are on vacation, you will go back. Then he realized after a month or so that he's not going back. So he asked that, what do you plan to do? I said, I want to do some business. So he said, fair enough, give yourself a couple of years, explore properly, don't do anything in a hurry. And he had some of his money, savings from Provident Fund and all. He said that you can use that either to build the business or you can use it if you don't succeed in that, possibly go and do an MBA or somewhere outside India and basically change your trajectory. So that's the thing happened. And I will say the most turbulent years of my life were 98 and 99, those 2 years. Because as a bright student, first attempt you get into IIT and all of that. So I never had any drop year or kind of a thing in life. So nobody ever asked me, what are you doing? And those were years where everybody's asking or giving you a lot of free advice that you should be doing this or that and all that. So in a lot of ways, I socially cut off myself and dabbled with multiple things. That should I get into construction or should I open an IT store, which was a new concept at that time. And as part of that, I met a few ministers as well and all. So it was a very, I will say, shocking experience. The late 90s UP were very, very turbulent and bad. Kidnapping was rampant in UP. And I remember meeting the science technology minister through a reference. And the first question he asked me, ki aapka jaat kya hai? Right? Because my dad doesn't write the surname. So people get confused when I write Das as my middle name, that what is your caste? So it was as blatant as that over there. And then I remember as part of exploration, staying with my friends in Noida in the extreme winter of Delhi, right, on the newspaper, and you put a blanket on that and sleep. So basically those were, I will say, very turbulent years. I had one partnership which did not work, and it involved a lot of violence as well to get out of that partnership. But in the hindsight...
Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So my father's one of the best friends, their son had just come back from UK and he was planning to explore something. I was also in that same boat. So we thought that why don't we come together and start a business. And early on we realized that their callings and their upbringing was quite different than what me or my brother callings were. So we thought that let's amicably separate out and go our paths. They were not very keen to let us go, and they came from a background where there was violence in their families and all. They had a background in that. So they thought that through violent means they can control my brother. There was a computer at his home come office. So these guys came and forcefully locked my brother at the gunpoint, took away the computer. There was FIR done, and because of my father's alumni from BHU and some of my alumni from Roorkee, we were able to use a lot of bureaucratic pressure to fend that off. So that was a very tense moment, and it allowed us to also see that what was happening actually on the ground in a state like UP.
Yeah.
So very close encounter with violence is what we went through. But my dad was very clear that you guys settle down in Bangalore, do the business, and he said, allow me to handle them. Whatever has to be done, I will take care of it. And he was a very tough man, so he could handle all of that. And then the CareerNet journey started from there on.
Yeah. So it almost seems like it was a ebb and flow, right? Because IIT was a high point because you discovered so many things, and then there was these 2 years that you spoke about where everybody was asking, what are you doing?
Yes.
How do you kind of block out the noise? Because people find it difficult to do that, right? When, say, nothing is happening in your life and you're always wondering what's the next step or what's the next plan. How did you maneuver those times?
I think the most important thing I will say is the belief in yourself. So I think that should not ever get shattered. You should never lose your self-confidence in any situation that you get into.
Right.
And also the immediate family and very close friends, they are the biggest source of strength when those low moments are there. Yeah. And as you rightly said that in my journey, if I look at when I went to Roorkee was a reset, typically from somebody who was offered the head boy and you are no one. You are one of the many people who joined Roorkee, ending Roorkee at a high point. So I have seen at least 3-4 resets happening in my life typically, and I believe that every 5-10 years all of us as entrepreneurs get into those orbits where we suddenly feel that nothing is working or what has brought us here will not take us somewhere else.
Correct.
So yeah.
So let's talk about the journey with Indiqube. Co-working spaces wasn't the norm, right? And of course, co-working spaces in general have had its life and trajectory of its own. So why did you decide co-working spaces in a place like India?
So before I go there, let me give you a little background on the CareerNet story.
Yeah.
So basically, 99 is when me and my brother, we started CareerNet journey, and we kept on building it brick by brick. And we today are one of the largest recruitment companies in India.
Yeah.
We place more than 100,000 people every year, IT professionals across, right from campus till senior level hires. So what was happening in that business around 2011, we realized that every 2 years we were changing office. Because we are outgrowing the offices, and that was too much of a cost and headache for all of us. So we thought that why don't we sign up a large office space, maybe say 100,000 square feet. 50% of that space we will occupy and 50% we will give it to companies known to us. And every year as we grow, we will ask them to vacate so that we don't have to vacate the building. So that was a plan. And in 2013, we moved into this 100,000 square feet build to suit campus on Outer Ring Road in Bangalore. And as planned, we gave out half the space to different companies. Now, when these companies took space from us, they started asking, can I use your boardroom once a month, training room? We are providing transport to our employees, food to our employees, recreation facilities were there. So whatever we created in terms of services and amenities for our own requirement, these companies wanted to use that. Now, while doing that, we realized that there is a big gap in the market. At one end, you had tech parks or buildings like UB City or India Bull Center in Bombay. And if you get out of those 5-star properties, you had nothing.
Correct.
There were all individual landlords. You really don't know whether they are paying property taxes on time, compliances are there, not there, kind of a thing. So we thought that why don't we create basically a more, I will say, functional, accessible an affordable office brand, something like what at that point of time a Novotel or a Lemon Tree was doing. So those were that's where we said that okay, this looks like a good opportunity. And then we signed up the first property on the Outer Ring Road. This was a 150,000 square feet property, fairly large by our capacity. And being a non-Kannada speaking person, no background in real estate, all of that, within 4 or 5 months, we could fill up the entire property.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we picked up another one.
So what is the strategy? Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Yeah. Because to sell out such a large space is not a joke.
I think what worked in our case, obviously, because of our CareerNet story, we knew a lot of companies. We had very high level of credibility in the market. And I think the timing was just perfect. People were looking for that alternative. They were not comfortable going too much outside, or they're not willing to pay a lot of money for the frills.
Yeah.
So I think those were the values which basically which people were looking for, and they just latched onto that. And half of the people who took up space, they said, look, big reason we came to you is that you are not a builder. Because unfortunately, in our country or elsewhere also, you will see that there is a clear mismatch. In every business, the supplier is here and the customer is here. Real estate is one industry where the landlord is here and the tenant is here.
Correct.
So even if you take a large office space, you will go to the landlord's office.
Yeah.
Landlord will rarely come to your place. So I think there was a big, it was a highly underserved market, and there was a massive trust deficit. I think somewhere being an outsider and having good credentials helped us fill in the gap. And this was more incremental. We were solving a problem. And my better half, Meghna, our co-founder in Indiqube, and my father were full-time in this. Because me and my brother were more full-time focused on CareerNet. And then we signed up another property in 2015. KPMG came and took it because they were doing a large campus. They needed transit space. So 2 successes happened in just 1 year. And that gave us a lot of conviction that we have hit something big. And why don't we just pursue? So I started operationally weaning off from CareerNet, my day-to-day responsibilities, and me, Meghna, and my father started focusing full-time on this.
Right. So what makes this company different, right? Because a lot of people have tried, a lot of companies have tried co-working spaces. But somehow it's just, there are too many permutation combinations. Of course, we will get to the COVID period and beyond. But what do you think made you different? Is it just the credibility from CareerNet, or were you doing something that fundamentally was giving customers what they wanted?
So, Karishma, what I will say is that the later part is what actually we did. We early on realized that this business is not so much about co-working. This business is more about managed offices. Okay. Because one thing was very clear to us that the customers who were coming to us were mostly large size clients who were looking at 200, 400 seats, and they were looking at long staying for 3 to 5 years. And these were mostly IT companies or well-funded startups. Those were coming to us. So this was very different from co-working over there. And most of these companies are not comfortable with the idea of one size fits all. Typically, if I have 400 employees, I would like my branding, my culture to be promoted, my type of benefits to be there. So some companies may be very comfortable having a freshly brewed coffee in the office. Some may like to give a very basic chai coffee and use the same money on, say, refreshments, biscuits or samosas or whatsoever. So every company has a different way to look at it. And you can't say that, look, take it or leave it. And people wanted to sit in their own offices typically. So there was a lot of requirement for personalization. And the real hero of the story was the employee. We figured that out. More than co-working typically was meant to facilitate networking among businesses. A lot of freelancers or smaller businesses, sales guys essentially come to the downtown, maybe in a Nariman Point or a BKC kind of place, and network over there. But this we realized was this is a services business where the hero of the story is the employee, and anything that can improve the experience for the employee is what we should be focused on.
Correct.
So I think that that single-handed focus from the beginning allowed us to ensure that we had a lot of first mover advantage. And Bangalore was the right place. That's another big thing. The best part about Bangalore, I will say, is that what you know is more important than whom you know.
Yeah.
Yes, and I've been in the city for 25 years. I think Bangalore has maintained that character.
That's amazing.
Yes, so yeah, minus the traffic, there is a very, so I think the place plays a very important role. The timing was perfect. We were very early. So I think in a lot of ways, our experience working with a lot of corporates, the B2B experience that we had at CareerNet, our understanding what employees are exactly looking at. So I think we were very right on our product fitment, whatever we created. And it was very high on functionality, where we knew that India is a very price conscious, value conscious market. So you can't say that I will offer a 5-star buffet. You have to offer a 199 pizza and lots of toppings.
Yeah.
Kind of a market.
Yeah.
So I think we always knew that we need to go more personalized, customized, on demand.
But within a certain budget.
Yes.
Because you don't want to cross that sweet spot of what people are willing to pay.
See, it's like this, that today if you decide to start a pizza outlet in a tier 4 town, you can't go with a 499 pizza.
Yeah.
You have to start with 199, offer a lot of toppings. And as the market matures, you can start launching 249, 299 like that.
Correct.
I think we got it right and got a lot of early push for us.
And how did you survive COVID?
Yeah, so COVID was obviously a near-death experience for all of us. I think in our business, the first thing or the most critical thing was that the liquidity crisis should not become the insolvency crisis.
Correct.
So cash flow was the biggest and the most critical thing. And we kept ensuring that we were able to pay rent, salaries, and our expenses to our staff or blue-collar staff on time. And there we had to do a fair amount of rejig, which we did over there. And when COVID hit, we also realized that every month the narrative was changing.
Yeah.
So basically we realized that let's not plan for the long term. Let's live in today. Whatever comes our way, keep solving, doing that. We over-communicated with our landlords, with our clients, employees over there. We picked up whatever data or information was coming and preempted anything bigger exits or bad news coming our way. And in a lot of ways, I will say that we build a lot of empathy with our clients and landlords, where we said that we will sail together. And we showed a lot of flexibility. We did not go strictly by, if suppose some startup says that I am downsizing and I say, look, here I have a contract, you can't do that. Instead of that, we showed a lot of flexibility. Most of our landlords showed a lot of flexibility. If we said that we will defer your rents or give us some discounts on the rents, those I will believe were very, very critical things. And then on the personal side, I will say the family and very close friends, spending more time with them was a key thing. Living in today, a lot of belief in spirituality, typically. Meditation, then wellness, whether it is in terms of physical health or mental health. I think those are the things that we did during COVID, which allowed us to sail through that.
Yeah. How did you structure the payments, right? If money wasn't coming in, how were you able to stay afloat?
So what was happening with our landlords, because our biggest payout is rents that we pay to our landlords. So we requested them to give us a deferral, and banks were supporting it because they were okay to EMI deferment, because most of our landlords were paying EMIs to the banks. So we were able to get relaxation of 3 months, 4 months of rental deferment. We also pay security deposits to our landlords. So we requested them to burn security deposits. Suppose I have given a 6 months security deposit, I said that allow me to burn 2 months. Use my security deposit to pay your rent, and my security deposit will reduce to 4 months. So I think that was the key thing, where cash flows on the landlord side got managed. And the other thing was basically obviously cut down on cost wherever we could typically optimize on the power cost, the manpower cost. We did not did any layoffs. We also requested our employees to take a salary cut, but we restored it within 4 or 5 months of that. So that allowed some cash flow budgeting. Government was also quite supportive. They came up with schemes where the power bills, they allowed us to defer payment of power bills. The government came with a credit guarantee scheme where they allowed us to take more money against our existing loans. So we were, as I said, that all the while ensuring that liquidity should be there in the business. So these are some of the things which we did, and it allowed us to sail through.
Yeah. Very interesting fact is that you have always been profitable. What are some of the strategies that you would suggest for those watching, right, to be cash flow positive?
So, I always say this line that growth at any cost comes at a huge cost. So we have never been a believer of uncontrolled growth. We always believe in controlled growth, grow to a level, stabilize, and then grow. So that allows you to take course corrections typically. So that is one good thing we have done. Second is whatever buildings that we pick up, we follow a lot of discipline.
Okay.
Every building that we pick up is looked into as an investment, as a P&L, and it has to break even, it has to make money at a building level. Basically, we will not, and if we don't believe that numbers are meeting, we don't get into any ego. So it's like investing, right? You can't do investing in a jiffy, or you can't lose your discipline.
It's a well thought out, long term.
That was the other thing that we did. The third was doing more with less. I think that frugality was pretty much built in always in anything and everything that we did. Other aspect is basically that if you look at our interiors or services, we have done a lot of 1.0. When we started the business, we realized that the best firms or the best consultants in the market who had done interiors had done for multinational companies, and their budgets were very different. They were done for a differently Western world concept. So we and that we realized early on will not work in India. So we came up with our own design team, the PMC team. So we were able to keep our cost on interiors under control. Our services cost, we did not got into feature wars. Where we said that let's outdo our competition typically. So what was functional, we always focused on that. So that was the other thing. Last important is that we did not resorted to any discounting. So we never resorted to discounting. A lot of our clients came in an organic way, typically through references, leads, and all of that. So a combination of all of this ensured that we stay the course. And our investors also played an important role. They are a private equity firm, not a venture capital firm.
Correct.
So they also were very comfortable with this approach.
And as time has passed, how has this business fundamentally shifted with, say, work from home, or where a lot of companies also do a hybrid kind of working model, or people prefer to work from home, for example? Did it impact, and what are your thoughts on the present and the future of this space?
So if we, Karishma, look at the pre-COVID era as well, already some of the changes were happening. Like typically the work from home was there, companies were working in distributed teams, maybe across different locations across the world. So those were happening. Only thing that was happening in mature organizations, and that was gradually happening. COVID in a lot of ways accelerated those trends and typically accentuated the whole process, disrupted the whole thing over there. So today where we are, I think we are in a place where everybody's talking about hybrid working.
Correct.
So it's not like full work from home or full office. Now the definition of hybrid is different for different, not organizations, even functions. For example, if you look at finance function, where you have a lot of paperwork to handle, those guys are mostly coming to offices all 5 days a week over there. Or you look at a lot of people who are in the lesser salary brackets, 5 lakh, 6 lakh, 8 lakh salary bracket in a place like Bangalore or Bombay. They don't have access to a big home. They are mostly living in PGs. They can't take calls. And the best meal of the day, most of the time these people get is in the office. So there is almost 100% comeback. So salary levels, functions, all that are also playing a big role. And then the whole organization itself. So what earlier used to happen, there was one culture in the company. If you ask me today, the culture has become, I will say, very fragmented. Within the same company, you will see the technology team behaving very differently. The back office team behaving very, very differently. And COVID has accentuated. So basically this hybrid working typically is here to stay. Also, I will say that this whole thing about who will come to office, when they will come to office, where they will come, and how they will come, I think this conundrum, if you ask me, is still not stabilized.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's still an evolving problem.
Yeah, because I think that not just after effect of COVID, but I think that behavioral patterns have also changed, so to speak. And like you said, right, in a company there are many smaller teams that behave differently, almost independently,
Yes.
autonomously. So I know for a fact that even in our company, which is a media company, some roles just can never work from home.
Yes.
It's not a possibility because you are required on site, you are required on the job physically to be there. But having said that, right, when you look at, say, India as a whole, the way we're growing, and I believe that most of your spaces are in tier 1 cities in India.
We are now in 13 cities, 6 tier 1s and about 6-7 tier 2s.
Tier 2s. Okay, so how is that changing in, say, tier 2, tier 3 India? Where is the work culture and the trajectory of business as operational moving?
So, if you look at our generation, and I still say that mine is more of a vintage, typically, our generation, people went where work was.
Correct.
All of us went 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles for work. Today, what is happening, work is going where people are. So I think that's a big tectonic shift. And as a result, you are seeing that talent which is in tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, or wherever it is, or within intra-cities. Today, you look at Bombay itself, you have Navi Mumbai, Noida, Gurgaon, same thing, North Bangalore, South Bangalore kind of situations. So even within the cities, there is a concept of multiple offices opening up. So I think one clear trajectory is that. Now, why tier 2s are doing well or will do well is because if you look at the connectivity, today the digital connectivity, the physical connectivity, thanks to airports, infrastructure and all, and then the financial connectivity to UPI and all of that. I think there is a very high level of integration that has happened in the tier 2 towns. And the quality of life also is now at a same level or even better actually in a lot of ways. If you look at quality of schooling, housing, in a tier 2 city at maybe 1/3, 1/4 the salary.
Quality of life also, I think, when you're slower, when
and access to anything. Like today, you look at access to healthcare, for example. You have so much of teleconsultations happening over there, or you look at education, the amount of online education you have, or access to products. You can order anything, and same day or next day you can get even in a tier 2 town. So I think that also has in a lot of ways got leveled out. So this is where the tier 2 story is growing. And another data is India has about 50 to 53 tier cities where population is 1 million plus. China has almost 115, 120 cities. So I think over the next maybe 10-15 years, we will see at least the number of cities with 1 million plus population at least doubling up. So that's the opportunity. Now within tier 2s also there is a lot of competition. Some tier 2s will do better than the others. If you look at a city like Pune 20 years back, I think a lot of tier 2s are where Pune was 20 years back or Bangalore was 30 years back. A very strong educational base, a very strong industrial base, proximity to Bombay or Chennai in Bangalore's case, a good R&D base, ISRO or NAL and all that in Bangalore. I think those were the things which actually ensured that places like Bangalore or Pune did better than others. Today, if I look at cities like Coimbatore or cities like Indore, to some extent Jaipur, Ahmedabad, I think they will do better than others because of one or many of those factors.
There are factors that are there. When it comes to an experience, right? What is your opinion basis tier 2 and tier 1? What are the different workplace experiences that Indians are looking for? Like, is there any pattern that you've noticed in tier 2 cities versus tier 1 cities?
So, first I will say that real estate or office spaces, if you see before COVID, was more of an admin function, was a support function.
कि बस आना है.
Right? But after COVID, this is a function which is now the CEO or the India head is focusing on that function. I know multiple country managers where they have a metric on their table every day that how many people came to office today. Really? And how many went to my cafeteria, how many ate food and all that. So, and see, the fact is that the employees don't want to come to office, right? And employers want them to come to office.
I don't think that's necessarily true because
largely it is true.
So I feel like there are also a section of people who crave that social interaction, right? Like because COVID really shut you off, and more than ever you realize that you need to be around people to boost certain things like creativity or brainstorming or softer nuances, of course. But of course, there's a section of people who prefer to work from home.
Yeah. So I think again, you're so right on that. If you compare that in a city like Bangalore and Bombay, or you go to the East Coast and West Coast in US, very different answers you will get to the same question.
Correct.
Your kind of people, the comeback is much better than what it is in SFO.
Yeah.
Kind of thanks to technology and those kind of things where remotely work is possible and all of that. So I think what is happening, the employers today are saying that what can I do more to get people back to office?
Or to make it a
so
good place to come.
Yes. So the whole thing about experience, benefits, whatever they can do, and they are out to outdo everything else. We have never seen so much of focus on benefits. When I say benefits like transport, food, wellness, recreation, that is there, and it is coming right from the CXO organization. It's no longer an enabling function.
Correct.
Also, in India's case, because IT and startups are the biggest occupier of office space, the employee is the hero of the story.
Correct. It has to. They have to.
Yeah, because customers rarely come to a large company's office. It is mostly the employees who come to. So basically, whatever helps us to attract and retain the employee is the focus. So the employee is the hero of the story, and that is how the whole employee centricity is a key thing.
Correct.
Now, as part of experience, multiple things people are looking at, basic things like ensuring food, transport is being provided, additional things like wellness, recreation, they are getting built in. The whole office is getting digitalized. Your meeting rooms, spaces and all of that is happening. And people are consuming their whole experience digitally in a more on-demand, personalized kind of approach. Companies are ensuring that whether it is tier 1 or tier 2, there is consistency across India. They want the same type of chai, coffee served in Lucknow, what is being served in Bangalore. So that was not the case earlier.
Correct.
So a lot of, and using technology, all that is possible
And
now.
this will also happen as the bridge narrows, right? Between tier 2 and tier 1 India. So how does Indiqube contribute to the experience? Can you tell me what makes it that company that people feel like, I want to come?
So I think because we our earlier venture is into recruitment, which is in the HR space. So we early on were very clear that this business is about employee delight, and whatever, like for example, you see, we are one of the few guys who offer transport across cities. And why we do that? Because we know that if you are a smaller company, leave Bombay and Delhi for a minute out, because you have good metro and urban transport in these cities.
Highly debatable to say good transportation.
Yeah, at least you
I've
can
sent
say
you
about
many
Delhi.
videos. I've
Correct.
sent you many videos of people hanging out of trains in Bombay.
So, but if you think about places like Bangalore, there is no urban transport, and it is yet a decade away where it will start becoming big time impactful. So if you are attracting people and your talent catchment is 5-kilometer radius, if you offer transport, your talent catchment is 15-kilometer radius.
But now we have flying taxis in Bangalore.
Flying taxi, how much?
I mean, what we can't do on ground, we'll solve through the air.
So I think the whole focus on benefits in our case was very much there from beginning. Second thing is that one size doesn't fit all. For example, you might be offering subsidy to your employees on food. You may be offering him or her a car parking lot. Now, if I am not bringing my car, can I use the same subsidy on Ola, Uber?
If to counterbalance it.
So if you look at, there is a 5 to 10,000 rupees most of the companies are offering as subsidies to their employees.
Right.
Now, what we are focused is that how can subsidies become targeted? How can they be personalized? If I am bringing food from home, can I use that subsidy on, say, transport? So if you look at, or in India, like if you see, if you keep everything in the office, unfortunately, people have the tendency to take everything home. That's a very Indian kind of a problem. I don't know why. But instead of that, if you have self-vending kiosk, where you say that whatever you require, you can pull it out. And you can keep all kinds of stuff. You can have hygiene products, you can have refreshments and all that kept. So it becomes on demand, and you say, I will offer you 500 rupees, 1000 rupees subsidy on your wallet. And using a digital wallet, you can consume anything up to 1000 rupees from that self-vending kiosk. So we have implemented a lot of on-demand, personalized solutions for the employees. Other than that, the wellness programs, then you look at recreation. So we have a 52-week calendar. And we work actively with HR to customize those calendars with the companies. So there is a, right from 26 January till the Christmas, everything is celebrated across all our communes over there. And if you look at food, we realized that if we rely on vendors, it was very difficult to give quality. So we decided that food being an integral thing, let's go and build it out.
So you're integrating basically all of these functions within the business.
Yes.
Okay.
So and all that. So basically, and then personalizing it.
Yeah.
As per the company's requirement, employees' requirement, all of that.
So with tech and AI and all of these different variables that have been introduced to our world, how do you think a concept which is traditional and custom like workspace will evolve with the introduction of tech?
A lot of changes happening because of tech. One, the biggest gainer I will say is sustainability in offices. A lot of IoT and those systems are being used. As a result, we are able to reduce a lot of energy consumption over there. A lot of reduction in water consumption has been possible over there. And a lot of focus is possible today on health. For example, the air quality monitoring and controlling the air quality is all possible because of that. So that is one big gainer because of AI and automation. The other is people can actually decide what kind of physical spaces they want. For example, you think about it, you can have height adjustable workstations, right? So many such things are possible where people can decide what kind of workspaces they want. With a lot of use of technology. A lot of spaces are able to get better utilized. People book those spaces. Less frequented spaces are now having better utilization over there. And as I said earlier, one of the biggest beneficiaries has been the benefits, the way they are being administered. For example, today organizations know what is being consumed, and where is adoption happening, and then they can focus their subsidies and benefits on that. Correct. And people can actually design their own benefits the way they want that to be
done. This is your need, like if transport is a need.
So a lot of personalization, on-demand, customized things are possible purely because of AI and automation over there.
So let's talk about the India growth story. You guys have also been part of the India growth story, and it will only continue to grow. Hopefully, it will be the third largest economy and then the largest economy at the end of the century. Yes. Hopefully. What do you think, which spaces or which particular categories will really emerge for India?
I think one theme that we are seeing today, the premiumization, the segments which are more to do with the premium segments, I think they are doing quite well. That is one clear segment. The other, I believe that there is a big opportunity in anything that is unorganized to that getting organized. Correct. And we see that playing out in our category very much, like where older buildings, as we discussed, where they need to be upgraded. And most of the Indian cities are ripe for such interventions over there. So real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate, hospitality, these sectors should do very well over there. Broadly, I can think of like the premiumization and these segments doing very well.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more on the personal front on how you are as an entrepreneur. You spoke earlier about spirituality and meditation and things that kept you going in your negative or bad times. What is your take on work-life balance, and how do you find the time, if at all, to kind of align or center yourself?
So I think on work-life balance, I believe it's more of a personal choice, and it will mean different things to different people. In my case, I will say I early on figured out that my passion is entrepreneurship, and I have been pursuing that, and I have not come across the dilemma that the work-life needs to be balanced. So important thing I believe is that if somebody is able to find their true callings, their passion, and make that their work, then there is absolute convergence that happens.
So how many hours do you work a day?
I think 12 hours.
Yeah.
Typically, that's what we put on work. Yeah. So that's how I look at the work-life balance. Also, I will say if I have to talk in general, I think one should definitely figure out their passion. Along with that, they should see what circumstances they have financially, in terms of their family, in terms of their health commitments, and ensure that anything that they are doing has to be sustainable.
Correct.
They can't force fit anything for long enough. If those are taken care of, I think it's not very difficult to strike the work-life balance.
Right. Okay. So we have FAQs from Indian startup founders who, we're trying to basically give quick tips or general perspective that you have that may help somebody in their entrepreneurial journey. So when is the right time to bring in co-founders or partners? And how do I identify the right co-founder?
My take is that when you are starting, it's not necessary that you have all the co-founders on day one. You can get your minimum viable product out with taking help from freelancers or individuals and get that product right. But it is important that one needs to understand that what kind of things you will require on the way and what's the core competencies required. Is it sales, distribution, technology, marketing, or domain knowledge? And those need to be filled in as you go by bringing in the co-founders. And obviously, it is not possible to hire unknown people. So most of the co-founders have to come from the known ecosystem, because trust is the biggest currency in any relationship, especially among the co-founders. So I think those are the places where people should focus on and bring them as they go. And organizations, I always say this, that the founding team's weakness should not become the organization's weakness. So at an organization level, you need to bridge that.
Should I go all in on bootstrapping, or should I start looking for funding early on?
So if I were to take my journey, I will always prefer going bootstrapped model, because my advice to a lot of entrepreneurs is that the venture capital, private equity money is gold-plated money. Consume it very responsibly, and funding is not an end in itself. And if you decide to take funding early on, then at least get your minimum viable product out. Ensure that there is some amount of product fitment and market fitment. Correct. Once you have crossed that stage, I think that is the right time when one can look at raising capital.
Right. What is a legal checklist I need to figure out early so that I don't hit roadblocks later?
So of course, other than the basic incorporation and the statutory being taken care of, very important is the contracts that you have with your other co-founders. A lot of times we have seen that those things are verbal, they getting dragged on, and they create a lot of problem. Second thing I will say, bring the right type of people on the cap table. And today, unfortunately, there is too much of money chasing too little good opportunities. So there are all kinds of people who are there. If you have wrong people on your cap table, they will create a lot of problem later on. So color of money matters as well over there. Also, depending upon the business you are in, one has to look for, there should not be certain red lines or certain things which are statutorily not possible, which you may be doing, which may later on turn out to be very challenging. Correct. So areas like gaming, or you look at crypto, those are highly regulated sectors, or anything to do with fintech. So I think those checks have to be in place.
Correct.
Well in time.
Yeah. So Rishi, last question. You've said that entrepreneurship is not a 100-meter sprint. So now that you have almost over 2 decades of building, scaling businesses, how has your definition of entrepreneurship changed? And what is your number one hack on how to scale?
Okay. So let me answer the first part first. So far, if you look at, my focus has been on whatever businesses I'm directly involved, the CareerNet or the Indiqube side, building and growing those businesses. I see from here on that getting broad-based. Idea is to basically contribute to many more startups, and that contribution can come in multiple ways. It can come through funding, it can come through being on their board, advisors or mentors to founders. We are also trying to now broad-base the definition of entrepreneurship, include impact investing or social ventures into that. So those are the places where I see. The other thing is, from just being a doer, now I see that I look at myself more as an allocator of resources, both human resources as well as money. And I take a outside-inside view on various opportunities within our business or other businesses, that where all the allocation has to go over there. And over the next decade or so, 2 things I see. One is succession planning, so that me or Meghna are able to transition to the professional management. Our kids are daughter is in late teens, so draw out a succession plan for the next generation, and so that they are able to continue with the family legacy. and pass on the baton over there. On scaling, I will say uh, any founder has to be clear that there is a 0 to 1 journey, 1 to 10, and then 10 to 100. I think scaling is a lot about that 10 to 100 journey. Over there, it is very important that your unit economics has to be right. You need to have a strong team over there. Your systems and processes are all set in, and then go whole hog. Over there, then only multiplying can happen. Unfortunately, we see that a lot of businesses, without getting these right, they start scaling up, and then suddenly the whole thing crashes over there. And you will require a different set of people to be brought in.
Correct.
So, and that may require churn of some of the initial people, which may not be the thing. Also, as founders, we grow linearly in our skills and capabilities. Businesses grow exponentially. So it will be important that all of us are willing to let go and take backseat and let people who might be more competent and than us into different functions come in. Build a very strong board and bring a set of advisors and consultants who actually can fill in for problems or things which we don't understand or we are not able to comprehend. I think understanding the science behind those phenomena and complexity is very, very important. Do all of that and try to conserve your cap table. Is another thing which I will say is important as you scale up.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rishi, for your time. And it's been fascinating. I learned a lot. And thank you for coming here and wish you all the success.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you. All the best to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Thank you all for being the best community, and I'll see you soon.